Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Berry, Robinson and Friends, seen on the internet 24 hours a day. We are also seen on Flint, Michigan, Comcast Cable Channel 17 every Saturday at 6 and every Wednesday at 8:30. We're seen every Sunday at 9 o'clock on channel Comcast Cable Channel 68 in Detroit at 9 p.m. And we're also seen downriver on Channel 20 every Tuesday at 9 and every Saturday at 1. Welcome all to the In My Opinion Show. First, let me introduce my very talented co-host. And this is Dr. Denise Smith Allen. Let's give her a hand here.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
All right. Then we have Mr. Henry Hatter.
First of all, I'm going to say welcome and congratulations, Dr. Allen.
Thank you so much.
That's a very how great your accomplishments are. We should all be gratified. Mm-hmm. Everybody in this city who knows that you're a member of this community should be proud of you.
Well,
Exactly,
I like that.
exactly,
I like that.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hatter.
And hi, Ron.
Thank you.
I hope we have a good show, good subjects, and
Yes.
things that we can debate back and forth. And
We are. We're going to, breaking news, Genesee County Jail, Flint, Michigan. Sheriff Robert Pickell faces a lawsuit of $36.6 million, a trial verdict against 5 Genesee County guards for excessive use of force. This is not the first time that the county jail has been subject to this kind of excessive force. When I was with the Flint branch of the NAACP, all right, I was the legal redress representative. We had at least 3 situations or complaints by prisoners in the Genesee County Jail of being beat up, excessive force, all right, and medication not being dispensed, etc., etc., etc. This information was relayed to the president of the Flint branch of the NAACP, and no action was ever taken. I thought that was appalling. And I'm not just saying this against Frances Gilchrist. I told her to her face. All right, because stuff like this, you just don't do for political reasons. All right, the NAACP is a storied organization known worldwide. And these kind of accusations should have been followed up. And to this day, I doubt very seriously that they have been followed up. But let's get back to the $36.6 million verdict, all right, against 5 Genesee County jails. This police abuse, whether it's on the street or in some kind of, or in state prisons or federal prisons or county lockups, this is not right. We see this stuff happening all the time, all right, and it's got to stop. Denise, what is your thoughts?
Well, this is a topic that I think will be discussed for many years. We have had over, just a period of time where police officers, people who work in correctional facilities and or jails have used excessive force at times on inmates, and it is unfortunate that this kind of behavior is pretty prevalent. And also it appears at this point that it may be escalating because of the political climate in this country. I think that it's unfortunate, but we have had permission basically granted by the kind of theatrics and things that have occurred during the campaign and subsequent election of the president. So we have a climate right now where it appears to be okay to certainly for people of color, I would say, to be the brunt of excessive force. As it relates to what's going on in Genesee County and in the county jail, I know that there are elements in there that have to be weeded out, and I'm sure in time they will. And subsequent to the verdict, that has, come about. I think that, it's not just Sheriff Bakel or those 5 individuals that were pointed out. I think that there needs to be extensive training and also psychological evaluations, and in some instances, firing and prosecution.
Absolutely, absolutely. See, and this excessive force is not just, again, as Dr. Allen was saying, in county jails. It's local, state, and federal. Henry, what? I know you have thoughts about this.
Yes, I do. I appreciate Dr. Allen's remarks here, and I don't disagree with her, but there are certain things I don't know about, details I don't know about the Flint event here, incident, where Dr. Pickell, Sheriff Pickell is involved. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I just don't have enough information about that, and I know there are circumstances where people in the jail sometimes the inmates can be very tough. Mm-hmm. And but still, there's no reason to abuse prisoners.
Absolutely.
We always looked at war movies as the enemy doing that, not Americans. They're clean cut and God-given graces. But when I see that, and I saw one yesterday, that this was in Alabama someplace, where the policeman punched a young man, and then the other one came along and hit his head. Mm-hmm. Stumped his head in a boot against the ground. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, I was furious over that.
Absolutely.
It could have been a white inmate, and I would have felt the same way. Mm-hmm. This is not the way you treat even people who are on the wrong path or made a bad decision. You don't have to do that.
Right.
You're treating them worse than an animal. You don't treat animals that way. Right. And so, but there's a respect and abuse going on. I would not say that it's the climate that's brought in by the president. This is a cultural thing. It's been with us forever. And to say all of a sudden one person is going to change the climate, that's in us, baby. That is who we are. That's how we're defined. And you can't define that away. And the young people, the new generation, will probably move away from this. From what we'll never get away from it completely, because it's always going to be part of our nature. But there are kids who are in schools that no matter what color you are, or what religion you are, or what gender you are, and I see them. If you attack one for one reason or another, the others gang in. Mm-hmm. and support the person who is getting the riot act. So I do think we need to continuously work for. There was a time that I was against body cameras, but after seeing several events, now, first of all, the man who was shot in the back 16 times, 15 times, was it?
Yeah.
That was a very graphic scene for me. I'm sure it was for all Americans, many Americans. Even the ones who are who don't like people of color or religion or other types of different demeanors, I'm sure that they all kind of had some feelings for that, because that is not the way you treat your worst enemy. You wouldn't shoot your enemies 15 times in the back if you were engaged in open field warfare.
Right.
And so I'm sorry, I wished I could say more for the situation, but I do know that we do need to restrain some of our tough inmates.
Well, some law enforcement think that they're both judge, jury, and executioner. Okay, in a lot of these instances, which is unnecessary. And as you mentioned, the climate out here, the Trump era, is really. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, is really the hate and the fear and the racial overtones, all right, from certain groups. Okay, since Trump hasn't been in office 100 days yet, and the hate groups have risen. Okay, more so and faster than they did during the Obama
They were
generation.
always here. They were
Okay.
always here.
Well, yeah, they were always
in the
here.
blood, in the veins.
But they have increased.
Yeah.
All right, and only thing I can think of is that, you know, people have to be aware of their surroundings, but don't be in fear, because that's what they want us to be. All right. Certainly, we don't want anything to happen to our families or other loved ones, but you know, be aware and protect yourself. We're in for an interesting time.
Well,
it
yeah.
is an interesting time, but I think we have to also take into account when you have a person who is arrested and taken to jail, they're supposed to have, you know, due process, and as you know, Henry alluded to, we have to continue to treat people with some type of humanity, okay? And unfortunately, and I will say this, you know, he and I differ on this issue about whether, you know, we know that it is a learned behavior, and we know that sometimes it is in the veins, if you will, but we have seen, as you mentioned, it exploding in terms of the frequency. And the frequency is because, again, it's almost like it's open season because of the climate and the person who sits at the head of the highest office in the United States. The things that he said during the campaign and all of that, the volatility, the misogynistic remarks, the racial remarks, and all of this stuff has set a tone. Because everybody, we understand, is not dealing with the full deck. I'll be nice. Okay.
Denise, identify one racial remark that he made.
He mentioned that Mexicans, basically, okay, yes.
Mexicans are part whites. They are not black.
Oh,
They're
no,
not-
I disagree with you. I disagree.
Okay, you can disagree with them. They're on the three races.
Yeah, well, that is also up for debate. But
But somebody made that definition long time ago.
okay, well, you know, there's definition and then there's definition, like there's alternate facts. Okay, but the point still being, these are racial groups. Okay, so again, out the bat, what he was talking about was they were rapists and they were gang members and things of that nature. So he started off with that. And then he went on to talk about in Chicago, the fact that he was wanting to bring in the National Guard because the people can't take care of themselves. So there are others, okay, but those
But
are
I
just
don't
two
know
that-
whether you can connote that to being a racial statement.
It is.
Those are code words.
It's the people who need the protection of government when they are in harm's way. And when government can't run itself, it's up to the state or the national government to come in and provide these people who were underserved protection.
Underserved?
Underserved.
Okay, well,
That means that the average citizen is not getting this due process.
I understand what you just said there, but I'm still saying they're not going to send the National Guard into Bloomfield Hills.
Well, they did in Alabama in 1959, 1960, 1963. Somebody had to protect us in those school situations.
That was another racial issue.
But that was a racial issue, but it was favorable to us what the National Guard did. We don't want to take that away from the federal government or the state government.
Well, I think, again, Henry, we're talking about code, and we're talking about code words. What he basically was saying was that Chicago is out of control, and we need to get those folks back in control. And the only way we can do that is we have to get the National Guard in there.
Okay, how many people were killed?
Get those
How many
folks
people were killed in
under
Chicago
control.
last year? 600?
And look,
And most of them were like us.
there's a war
Somebody's
going
got to
on.
protect us from ourselves and from
There's
others.
a war going on. We have to help identify that
Yeah,
as an
okay.
issue. Okay.
I can see.
Okay.
I can't talk to the doctor now.
Oh,
She's got a
look,
doctor's degree
and
now.
look. Whether I have that or not, I'm telling you, we have some issues that we need to
Yes, we do.
address.
We're on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I appreciate that.
Real facts, Henry.
Yeah. but she stands up to me really, really well, and I love
Good.
that.
Good.
Otherwise, I would be just a puppet here, a nobody.
Oh no, here we go.
But you make me better.
We
And
we
let
are
the-
having a critical analysis and a discussion about things that are important to us as
And that's good.
leaders and community activists or whatever you want to call yourselves. But we have to make sure that the audience understand we're not all going to be on the same page all the time.
And the audience doesn't want us on the same page.
Absolutely not.
God doesn't want us on the same page.
No.
He made us all different.
Absolutely. He's speaking more about God.
But we
Something that
all
happened-
come from but we all come from the same place.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
All right? We all come from the same place.
Denise had a great word that she said that there was a lack of humanity in the Flint jails. And what we owe each other is humanity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And policemen and others who have money and presidents and stuff do not have to take away our humanity. They can't take away the citizenship. Therefore, they should not take away the humanity. Did I say
agree.
something, Doctor?
You said it. You said a mouthful right there.
Thank you.
You said a mouthful.
See, I told you make me look good.
Let's change the topics here, which this next topic is going to be somewhat graphic. Recently, it came to light mutilation of young girls. Michigan emergency room doctor arrested for performing female genital mutilation of young girls 6, 7, and 6. Dr. Jumana Nigarudi, I guess that's how you pronounce it.
Something like that.
Something like that. She is a member of a religious and cultural community that curbs this mutilation, allegedly and supposedly curbing a female sexuality. All right, it's not just practiced here, obviously at Ford Hospital in Detroit, which the operations didn't, from what I understand, didn't take place at Ford Hospital, but it's also practiced in the Middle East and in Africa. All right, these mutilations, and I think it's so reprehensible. Okay, that this situation occurs, and it shouldn't. But that's the culture, and and it's a man-made system, in my opinion. All right, shared by different information that I've gathered on on the internet and public libraries and so forth. Only the man is supposed to experience pleasure, which it goes beyond common decency, I think. All right, Dr. Allen.
I have to get used to that.
Yeah, I have to follow that.
Yeah, I mean, I really have to get used to that, and we'll go back and forth, and I'll be that, and I'll also be Denise, and that's fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, it goes back, from I guess the creation of humanity in terms of how a culture expresses itself. And the thing that, of course, is very troubling for, women is the fact that there's always been, in one form or another, throughout the various cultures, some form of discrimination, for lack of a better word, a way of devaluing women, their thoughts, their feelings, their capabilities, all those things. And in this particular culture, which is totally foreign to us, it is a cultural norm for the woman not to have any type of sexual experience or desire or anything like that. It is, as you said, is primarily given to the man. But the thing that is most troubling in that practice is the fact that these girls and these women who have had those experiences also have serious complications from that surgery, and they're in a great deal of pain, many of them, and some have had to go back and have subsequent dealings with a doctor or a hospital because of infection and all of the other things that go along with that surgery. But in addition to that, what about the psychological damage that occurs? But because this is a norm, I guess somehow or another, because I don't have enough information about their custom to say that somehow or another they're expected to deal with it. Maybe they have some kind of way in which they discuss it. Who knows? But the point still being, from the standpoint of the equality of women, this is something that needs to be addressed on a forum that is international, because we have to help people get past that particular custom, because it's doing damage, it's doing harm. And when you think about that, you also think about, because I just saw recently where women, and I'm now speaking about not just a cultural thing, but also a religious thing, the women who are Muslim and the ones that wear everything except having their eyes exposed. Now, they too can be subject to public beatings. I was watching it on TV where the husband had a stick and was whooping the woman in public because of some infraction that would be, minor or minimum to us in our culture. But this whole thing of just devaluing women on various levels, that, women are fighting for their lives. Women are getting beaten because they don't have shoes on their feet. I mean the things that you see and you hear about culturally, and you compare it to what goes on here in America, and we know we have our issues too with domestic violence and the rest of that stuff. But, comparatively speaking, women have a little bit more freedom compared to the rest of the globe. And it's just unfortunate. It's tragic. And in this case, because this doctor, when she took an oath of office to heal, to help, for her to put herself in that situation where she would do that, now she's going to be charged criminally, as she should. If that's the practice that she chose to engage in, knowingly that there were going to be some prosecution behind that, then she should lose her license. She should be penalized to the extent that the law allows. And if this was something that she chose to do knowingly, then that was an option for her to take that custom back to a place where it is already normalized.
Which still doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it right, but at least, it's away from, now it's, but again, perhaps it was, God's way of saying, okay, we're going to expose this so that people will be able to address this issue.
And there's also indications that it's not just only these two, but there could be many others, right? And this is just one doctor. Who knows? With that culture, all right. There's a lot of doctors that have migrated, to the United States, bringing that barbaric, in my opinion, procedure. Okay. Like you were saying, if they want to do stuff like that, go back to where they came from, all right, and and practice that stuff, because here in America, it's a felony. Mr. Hatter?
I was just wondering if there's any place in our literature that speaks to that type of procedure, medical procedure. I think it's prohibited in the United States.
Oh, it definitely is.
And the person should be sent home. That doctor should not be practicing medicine anywhere in the free world, because I don't think the free world really authorizes that kind of practice. And I cannot imagine being intimate with my wife and not sensing her pleasure. I just cannot. I would not want to engage in any kind of activity with a woman who couldn't.
Right.
And I know that But when you look at the bigger picture, human beings can be very barbaric because a rapist, for example, is removed of his ability to sense pleasure too. We have no problem with that, but that's authorized by law. But it is, when you think of it and you think of doing that, you would not want to see a man go through that either. And certainly you don't want to see women to go through that. And I think that we should, the woman should be brought to trial quickly and extradited.
Well, serve time.
And then extradited. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, I think while they have her, I'm sure she knows of other doctors or other people that have performed these, these kind of operations. Make her tell who she knows. Okay. And it's horrible.
Absolutely.
I can't even envision the pain that that these young women have to go through. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Americans need to know how good they have it with respect to the rest of the world.
Yeah, well.
In many, many aspects. We should be proud of the Americans.
But at this time, we must bring the In My Opinion show to a close. This is Ronald Bay Robinson and friends saying until next time, stay focused.